Khaled Ismaeel.
Raise your hand if you ever passed an exam before. Good. Raise your hand if you ever failed an exam before. Even better. To all of you, Master Ceremonies, fellow Toastmasters, and my dear guests, a warm good evening.
Good evening.
As young adult Toastmasters and guests, we have lived our entire lives up till this point doing nothing but exams, exams, and exams. We study, and we study, and we study, yet we study very hard. And nothing is greater when we find out that we received a passing grade, isn't it? But nothing could be any more devastating when we found out that we got a bad grade, or worse, we failed an exam. The power of a grade is so great that it has the power to define, apparently, who you are and what we are capable of. So, let me ask you, what's in a grade? Does anyone know? What does a grade signify? Is it just a letter? No. Is it a number? No. Or is it a piece of paper that tells you that you are qualified? No. What is a grade? A grade is nothing but an evaluation of who you are and what you can do at one point of time. And what you are and what you can do always changes. Just because you passed doesn't mean you cannot fail. Just because you fail doesn't mean you can pass. So what does really define us? Is it the grade? No. It's education. Now many of you think, what's the difference between education and a grade? Education is not bound to a number. Education is not bound to a letter. Education is not bound to a piece of paper that tells you you can do it. Education is the learning need that we all have to learn, succeed, and inspire. Education are the lessons that are taught to us by our teachers, our friends, our family, my wife, and life in general. So, despite all this, the reason why I tell you this today is because of a very special person that I know, or heard of. I know him personally. But his name is Albert Einstein. Now, everyone knows, as the Master of Ceremonies and the Vice President of the President has stated, Albert Einstein is a man that is linked to the word genius. He is a man who has created the face of science itself. Some may say. But did you know, when Einstein was born, he was a very slow learner, and he spoke very slowly. And that when he applied for his university exam, he failed his entrance exam. But he did ace his physics and maths exam, of course. He's Einstein. But despite that, he failed and had to reapply the year after. Because, not of his grades, it was because of his education, his need to learn, to teach, to understand things. He hated the fact that education grades were built on remembering the same thing and repeating it after and after again, just so you can get the answer right. He believed in creative imagination. He believed that we should do as what we want to do and learn from it. And because of this, to this day, he has more than 300 scientific papers. And, of course, he is a he is a legend to the science world. So, if you compare these to everyone else, you might think, okay, Einstein could be a different case because he has a bigger brain than most of us. But that's not true. If you look into yourselves, for example, myself, I was a straight A student, but I could not take my university because my family nor I could afford it. And to most people that I've met in my entire life, I've been told that because I did not take a university grade, it was the same as failing my university test. But because of that, I thought I could never be anyone in this life. But I started working since I was the age of 17, and it has been 9 long years that I worked without a degree, without a grade, and learning things that not a grade could tell me. And that is where I am today. And I look at your faces and I think, and I see, okay, maybe Einstein is different, maybe this guy is different too. But when you look into yourselves, everyone here in this room tonight is a guest or a Toastmaster. And if I look at you, I see some who are chemical engineers. I see some who are architects, civil engineers, electrical engineers. Some who have doctorates in international studies. But despite all this, you are all qualified in your own right. But here we are today, learning the simple basics of how to communicate and lead. A grade means nothing, but the education, the things we actually learn, define who we are and what we can do. A grade will tell you all the things that you need to do right, but education will give you the heart to do the right thing. To everyone in this room, I want to give you the chance to think about it, to not let the grade define you, but you to define the grade. And of all things tonight, the only thing I ask of you is to learn and grow and succeed. And who knows, maybe the next Einstein is amongst us. We never know.
Thank you, Toastmaster Khaled. Now, before we continue, I've been asked to